Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and a very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. On today's show, we're going to talk about a little bit about James Gunn and his Superman plan. Of course, we don't know what his Superman plan is, but there is a rumour that on the 6th of January, yes, that early, we could have some kind of DC event to announce some of James's and Peter's plans for the new DC universe. So, there's a portion of me that's quite intrigued and excited about the thought of James Gunn writing a Superman movie. It's my opinion and my belief that James has always worked within his comfort zone. So as someone who loves to express themselves like me, I really respect anyone who's willing to challenge themselves, because with Superman comes great expectations and huge pressure. And you've got to respect the guy, whatever you think of the guy, to come and take this co-chair job of DC Studios, where he's the one who's putting his head above of the parapet. You really do have to respect that. Peter Safran is kind of hidden away doing his production job, and obviously James is very, very comfortable, but it's him who will get it in the neck if all of this fails. So I am a little bit intrigued and quite excited about James Gunn writing a Superman movie. Now, this doesn't mean I'm not frustrated about the way Henry Cavill has been treated. They should never have brought him back in the first place, in my opinion, and got all of our hopes up. That's where the problem lies here. Now, in terms of the fire James Gunn and Peter Safran thing, you can't fire people before you see what they do. Now, I've given a lot of opinions, both positive and negative, about what's going on at DC and WB right now. But I can't support someone getting fired before we see their job. If their job doesn't do great versions of these wonderful DC characters and universes, and they fail at the box office and critically, then I would say, yes, you'd have to fire them, but still I would like to see them given a chance. If you're one of those people like me who thinks it's outrageous that Zack Snyder wasn't allowed to finish his arc, you can't then support the firing of James and Peter before their plan takes fruition. But we do know that David Zaslav is quite reactive, and we'll have to wait and see how all this works out. I actually think that James Gunn, even though it kind of concerns me that James has had to rush, because according to him, he only started work on all of this when he was announced as the co-chair of DC Studios. He's like our showrunner now for this new DC universe of gaming, movies, television and animation. So basically, if you believe what he says, that he only started doing this a few months ago. So he's writing this Superman movie. You'd have to assume that he's also at least going to be co-writing the Batman content as well. Whoever's going to play Batman, we don't know. But again, I'm also intrigued and very excited about James Gunn doing this, because I think it's a very interesting thing. James Gunn has proven that he's very, very good at writing characters who are not that famous, that don't have great expectations kind of hanging over their heads. But Superman and Batman are a very different case in point. Superman and Batman, the pressure is on to make them great. Some people like what Reeves did. Some people like what Snyder did. Some people don't. But James Gunn has to create a Superman and a Batman that everybody loves, or nearly almost everybody. You have to please the Batman and Superman and DC stands, but you also have to bring in the general audience to make big buck at the box office. But clearly James Gunn wouldn't have taken on this job unless he thought he could do it. This is the biggest, most greatest, opportunity in James Gunn's career. If he succeeds, then you have to credit the guy and say, wow, you did it, well done, sorry for my shit takes when I was concerned about you doing this stuff. And if he fails, then we can say, well, I told you so. I'm a DC fan, and I've said this before, but if you're new here, and if you are new here, please subscribe and like, and please support if you love me. If you don't like me, please, thank you for being here, but please subscribe and support anyway. But I'll say what I always say. I'm a DC fan, and although I am frustrated on the treatment of Henry Cavill and disappointed that Zack Snyder wasn't allowed to finish his arc, I don't want DC to fail because of those reasons. Basically, I don't want DC to fail. I want DC to succeed doing great things. I believe that James Gunn wants to create something special. I believe that James Gunn wants to bring the comics to life. I'm frustrated up to now how DC live action has been treated within the DCEU and how Snyder and Cavill were treated and the others were treated. But at the end of the day, I believe that Gunn, wants to do something special here. And I think if he feels if he couldn't do something special here, he wouldn't do it. Now, a lot of people say to me on my videos, I trust James Gunn. I don't blanketly trust anyone. The only person I trust in this world is me, and that's only like twice a day. So I don't have, unguarded, unnerving trust for anyone. So I don't trust James Gunn, and I don't trust anyone else. James has to win me over. Yes, I'm a member of the audience, even though I'm in I'm 50. Just because I'm an old geezer doesn't mean you don't have to win me over. My money is worth the same thing as well. So James Gunn has to win me over and you over and everybody else over with the content that he's going to deliver. So if it's true on January the 6th that we're getting an announcement, I will have an open mind on what we're going to get, and I will judge everything on the announcements we get. But I still won't have a complete judgment on the DC Universe plan until I see what it actually is, until I see the movie or TV or the game or the piece of animation. You can't judge a meal before you've tasted it. So I see a lot of comments on my YouTube, and I never tell people what to say, and I never try and police people as long as they're not being racist or they're not being cruel. I never try and police opinions on my platform. But I hear people just saying off the cuff that it's going to fail. No, you want it to fail, and I understand why you want it to fail. Henry Cavill has been removed. Gal may be being removed. They all may be being removed, apart from certain elements of the DCEU. And we discussed yesterday and many times on this video how that may look like. My theory right now is a kind of similar idea that Walter Hamada had, which was the multiverse strategy. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what James and Peter announce. And then I can kind of bring that to you here on YouTube, on my Movies TV Mad platforms, on Twitter especially, and on here. Very important that we discuss these things democratically and then make our minds up as fans. But right now, even though I don't think Henry Cavill has been treated right, I do feel, getting rid of The Rock was absolutely the right decision. I mean, I may have to unpin my Black Adam non-spoiler review, because at the time I was so positive about that movie. Looking back at it now, I may even cancel my pre-order for the 4K Blu-ray physical media that I ordered. That's how I'm not really kind of feeling Black Adam anymore. I think the CGI is great. I think it's a great kind of time at the movies. But yeah, there's a part of me who thinks, you know what? You don't matter anymore. Why am I buying this? Am I ever going to watch it? Although I do like to collect DC content, so maybe I'll just keep it anyway. But yeah, look, so I'm open-minded about what James and Peter are planning, but I'm not blanketly going to trust James and Peter at the end of the day. But I don't want to be cruel towards them. So some of the stuff being said, I admit the historical tweets are not good and they're disgusting. And as an uncle, it's not something I can support. He said it. There's certain situations where people are bringing up historically that are not good. He's come out. He's apologized. He's not the only one in Hollywood, guilty of these things. But we must remember James Gunn hasn't been proven to have done anything illegal. And that's very important to say here. So until he is the co-chair of DC Studios. He's a talented man. Someone had to take this job. and it was never going to be Zack Snyder. They could have democratically brought him in and given him his own little universe to finish off what he started. But I think we have to say, despite how I don't agree with this, that we're done with the Snyderverse. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I'd be very happy if Zack could be part of the new DC Universe party, even if Zack was allowed to direct one of the movies. And who knows, James may do that to try and calm the situation down. We'll wait and see. But it looks like on January the 6th, we're going to hear some things. And I'm very excited because I'm a DC fan. It doesn't, look, if you're a DC fan, it won't help you to just to get rid of James and Peter now. Because I think even if you sack James and Peter now for no fucking reason, I mean, look, I don't agree with some of the out of context teases and that we haven't been given enough context about what's going on, because I believe lesser informed people like me and you get easily confused, and it doesn't create good publicity for the new DC Universe plans. But what I would say is, on January the 6th, I think we're going to be a lot more informed, and we're going to know what context DC Universe has to the old DCEU content, the content we're getting in the new year. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the Flash movie, Blue Beetle, that's the film I'm kind of intrigued about as well, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I'm looking forward to these movies. Why? Because they're DC movies. And I've seen some of them in test screenings, but they're unfinished, obviously. So I'm excited to see what we actually get when they're finished up. But the DC films, I think Shazam! Fury of the Gods, one of the few movies I haven't seen a test screening of, but I've read what it's basically about. I think it's going to be a great little paint-by-numbers superhero movie, and I think we're all going to enjoy it. And I think it will be a better movie than Black Adam. The Flash movie is a huge multiversal adventure. I think if you go and watch this, you will have a lot of fun with it. Blue Beetle has one of the, biggest, most upcoming stars in Hollywood today. And I can't say his name, but I'm just going to say it how I read it. Xolo Maradona, who is from Cobra Kai. So that's exciting as well. And I have seen a test screening of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It is the fucking chef's kiss at the end of the day. James Wan doesn't do bad content, so I'm excited for all of you to see that as well. So I can be upset about how Zack and Henry and Gal and the others, and especially Ray Fisher, have been treated, but I have to put it down at the end of the day. I have to let it go, because it doesn't really change anything. I've spent a week or two, mouthing off about my feelings about that. And, I'm sure if it crops up in the news again, we can go through that again. But as a DC fan, I have to look at the other side of the coin and be very balanced about my views. So just because I'm frustrated, I have to understand, what are James Gunn's reasons for replacing Henry Cavill as Superman? So, look, I believe, in James' opinion, he doesn't believe he's a sellable commodity as much as they need him to be. And I believe that they do believe the lack of uplift that Cavill gave them for Black Adam was a problem. But also, I do believe genuinely he wants to bring in a much younger Superman. And, again, we'll see what kind of Superman he casts. I've given you the possibilities of maybe an African-American Superman or a Latino Superman. Again, it depends on the actor they choose there. I may say, well, actually, that's interesting, that's intriguing. We'll see where they go with this. He did post a picture yesterday or the day before of Lois and Superman out in space. It's a very famous picture as well. That'll be interesting. Can he pull off the romance between Lois and Clark? Because that's the kind of environment we live in today, where straight romantic relationships are put down by people these days. And, a lot of these Gen Z kids don't want to see this anymore. But people from my generation, and actually other Gen Z kids, do want to see this kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting how James pulls all of this off. So I am so intrigued how this is going to work out. And I think these potential January 6 announcements that are just rumours right now are very exciting, interesting, and intriguing to me. Can James Gunn pull it off? I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. because I haven't eaten his sandwich yet. And until I do, I'm going to be very balanced and open to what we could get. This has been Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Till I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.